Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalaka Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So let's continue discussing the wonderful transcendental qualities of who? Krishna, that's right, Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're discussing about Krishna. There's so many things to talk about. Shota Vyadini Rajendran Rinang Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedhinam. What's the meaning of this verse? Yeah, Grihamedi means one who's tied up to a post in the Griha. Attached household, Prabhupada translates it. So, people who are devoid of knowledge of Atma Tattva, the science of the soul, they have many things to discuss. Shotavyadini Rajendra, O King, O King of Kings, Shukadeva Goswami addresses Parikshit. Materialistic people, they have many subjects for discussing. Being devoid of knowledge of Atma Tattva, knowledge of the self. But we are discussing Krishna. That's the real subject of discussion. So let us continue with that. Quality number 43, listed by Srila Rupa Goswami, of Sri Krishna. Kirtiman, renowned, famous. Kirti, who possesses kirti. Kirti means fame. Rupa Goswami describes that a person who is famous for spotless good qualities is called renowned. So Krishna, we're reading about the qualities of Krishna, and one of the qualities is that he's renowned for his good qualities. So the good qualities all combined together give Krishna the fame of having good qualities. So that's good fame. You can be famous for many things. Just like this morning I was talking about one devotee, his nephew had become famous for being a footballer, but that's useless kind of fame. And there are many useless kinds of fame. Many people trying to do things just to become famous, just to get their name in the Guinness Book of Records, something like that. So that's useless fame. But kirti means fame with some substance behind it. Krishna has such good qualities. He's famous for his good qualities. Yeah, that's other side. In this, so an example of this. O son of Nanda, since the light of the moon is, again, it's in very ornamental language, ornamental and allegorical language. O son of Nanda, since the light of the moon of your good qualities has already turned everything radiant, how can it make the world thick with Krishna prema? So it's a little difficult to understand. Krishna means darkness, black. So it's a play on words. That the light of the moon of your good qualities, Krishna, has made the world light. So how can it make it thick with Krishna prema? In other words, how can it make it black? It's a play on words. But it demonstrates how Krishna has become famous for his good qualities. Another example from Lalita Madhava. O Damodar, when Narad playing his veena began to sing your glories, Parvati, not seeing the blue color on his throat, left Shiva's abode. She thought, it's an imposter. It's not the real Shiva. Someone's pretending to be my husband. So she left him. In other words, when Narad played his veena and sang the glories of Krishna, Lord Shiva's the blueness on his throat went away due to the effect of hearing Krishna's glories. Balaram saw his blue cloth turned white. Look, my blue cloths become white. So he was astonished and he gave it up. He thought, wait, that's not my cloth. How did that happen? And the excited cowherd women, seeing the blue water of the Yamuna turn white, began to churn it. He thought it was milk. Just by hearing Krishna's glories. So Jiva Goswami comments that this is a playful image according to poetic usage rather than a description of actual events. However, on hearing the glories of Krishna, Parvati does lose interest in Shiva. Balaram loses interest in his cloth, and the cowherd women begin churning the Yamuna in ecstasy.
There's no noise outside.
Yeah.
We want to open, close.
We want it open so we can have fresh air. We want it closed so we don't get disturbed. So you decide what to do. Alright, then now there's no noise, so I guess you can leave it open. Quality number 44. Rakta Lokaha. Attractive to people. Intelligent people say that the person who is the object of attraction for all people is attractive to people. So that's Krishna. That's what his very name means. He is attractive to everyone. As described in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. O lotus-eyed Lord, whenever you go away to Vrindavan or Hastinapur to meet your friends and relatives, every moment of your absence seems like a million years. This is spoken by residents of Dwarka. O infallible one, at that time you become bewildered, just like eyes become bewildered when bereft of the sun. So Krishna is so attractive that in his absence, a moment seems like a million years. Whew. We got a long way to go, huh? We feel Janmashtami evening. Every moment seems like a million years. When am I going to get that prasadam? When can I break the fast? Feeling absence from nourishment from my stomach, I'm feeling every moment seems like 12 years or more. So when we feel like that for Krishna, we can understand we actually made some spiritual advancement. Another example, when Krishna entered the arena of Kamsa, that means the wrestling arena that Kamsa had arranged, the sages uttered blessings. Jai, Jai, victory, victory. The devatas, the demigods, uttered sweet songs of praise. Out of joy, the women shouted loudly all around. Who did not develop attraction for Krishna at the sports arena? Actually, there's a famous verse, isn't there, in the Bhagavatam, describing how when Krishna entered the arena, everyone was attracted to Krishna, but in different ways. The Vrishnis thought he's our relative, Devaki and Vasudeva thought this is our son. The residents of Vrindavan thought he's our very dear person. The wrestlers saw him like a thunderbolt. Kamsa saw him as death personified. Ignorant people saw him as an ordinary person. The yogis saw him as the universal form. So in this way, various people perceived Krishna, the same person, Krishna. Various persons perceived him differently, but they were all attracted to him, one way or another, either positively or negatively. Everyone is attracted to Krishna. See, even Shishupal, he hated Krishna. And he would call, who is this? He's just an ordinary cowherd boy. But if he was an ordinary cowherd boy, then why was Shishupal so anxious to blaspheme him? So Shishupal, by his own envy of Krishna, although he was always trying to establish Krishna as being insignificant, but his intense envy for Krishna meant actually that Shishupal took him very seriously. He was also attracted to Krishna by speaking constantly about Krishna in an envious manner. In one sense, he was also attracted to Krishna. So Krishna is all attractive. But it's better to be attracted to him for his good qualities and appreciate that, to be a devotee, rather than to follow in the footsteps of Shishupal, Kamsa, and other such demons. Quality number 45, Sadhu Samashraya. He means who is the full shelter for the sadhus, which means the devotees. So again, this is another quality which broadly overlaps that which was already mentioned. We read this morning, Sharanagata Palaka, who is the protector of the surrendered soul, and Bhakta Suhrit, who is the best friend of the devotees. So here's a similar term, Sadhu Samashraya, who is the complete shelter for the devotees. So he who has exclusive inclination to the devotees is called a person who protects the devotees. So, a verse, it's not given the source of this verse. O Supreme Person, if you did not appear on this earth to bestow auspiciousness, I do not know what condition would befall the devotees from the persecution by all the fierce demons. So there are many demonic persons who were persecuting the devotees at that time. So Krishna establishes in Bhagavad Gita, Paritrani yada yada hi dharmasya granya bhavati bharata bhutanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamiham Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya tadushkitam dharma samsthapanartham sambhavami yunam. Krishna appears whenever there is a decline in religious principles and an upsurge of irreligion. He appears to protect the devotees and to annihilate the demons and to re-establish religious principles in every age. So Krishna particularly he comes to protect the devotees. When Krishna sees that devotees are being mistreated by the demons, or even maybe not even mistreated by the demons. So just like we see, there's the famous incident of Gajendra Moksha. Gajendra, he wasn't exactly being treated. He was a devotee. I guess you would say he was mistreated by a crocodile. Not non-devotee. Well, the crocodile was also a demigod who had been cursed. So Krishna came all the way from Vaikuntha to protect Gajendra, seeing that his devotee was offering him prayers. So Krishna came to protect him. So we can understand this quality of protecting the devotees is a very important quality, because in the first 45 listed, it's mentioned or Krishna's love for his devotees. It's in various ways it's mentioned. In 3 ways it's mentioned: Sharanagata Palaka, Bhakta Suhrit, and here it's Sadhu Samashraya. Now, here's a quality which is unique to Krishna. The next one. And some of the qualities Devotees may also imbibe by their natural development of Krishna consciousness. When they become pure, they also develop pure qualities. So being friendly to the devotees, that's a quality of a devotee. Or being famous for good qualities, that's also a quality for a devotee. But this number 46, Nari Gana Manohari, means one who steals the mind of women. That's for Krishna. That's not something that the devotees should try to imitate. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Krishna, but in the form of a devotee. He must have been very attractive, no doubt. He's same as Krishna, exactly the same appearance as Krishna, except that instead of being blackish in form, he's golden. Patita Pavana Gaurahari. So very beautiful, no doubt. But in this appearance as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he doesn't sport with women, although there is an upper sampradaya who claim that he does, but that is against the very spirit of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and the supreme enjoyment is to sport with women. That's the supreme enjoyment in the material world, and it's the supreme enjoyment in the spiritual world. But in the material world there are many false enjoyers, and in the spiritual world there's only one enjoyer. And everyone contributes to Krishna's, that enjoyer is Krishna, and everyone contributes to Krishna's enjoyment. So, the center of Krishna's enjoyment, or the topmost enjoyment, is his enjoying women. This, of course, we're discussing here among devotees, so I won't go into the intricacies. I trust you all are aware of the philosophical understanding. We don't have to bring out a case of defending Krishna. If we were to read this among non-devotees or people who are not aware, even people who believe in God, this morning I was talking about pious Christians, relatively pious Christians, they might be bewildered on hearing some of the qualities of Krishna. That he's very attractive to women. That's why we need to, devotees need to understand what we call the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, so they can explain it to others. Otherwise, Krishna is an enigma. How can someone who is apparently immoral be the source or the worshipable object of sannyasi? It seems very strange. How can such a vibrant religious tradition, the Vaishnava Bhakti tradition, be centered on a debauch, lampat? That word is right there in Shikshastra. Lampat means debauch. So, there's Nari Gana Manohari. It means not just one woman, but a group of women. So, by his very nature, one who enchants a group of women, by his very nature, is called an attractor of women. It's more or less stating the same thing. So, Krishna's ability to attract women, well, his bodily beauty is highly attractive. Especially his bodily beauty is mentioned here. in G.B. Swami's commentary. And along with that, there's his character. It means everything about him. Everything is attractive. Everything about Krishna. Everything he does, everything he says, how he deals with others. He's very attractive. And women here particularly means although he is also attracted to all women. The wives of the demigods were also, we hear they were very attracted to Krishna. Kubja was attracted to Krishna. But particularly means to the liberated women, the women of Dwaraka, the gopis of Vrindavan. And in a broader sense, Krishna means Krishna attracts everyone, because in the broadest sense, every jiva is Prakriti, female, in relation to Krishna, who is the only Purusha, the only male or the only enjoyer. So, a verse from the 10th canto describes that the Lord, being glorified in countless ways, forcibly attracts the minds of women who simply hear about Him. Can you think of any example of a woman who became attracted to Krishna just by hearing about Him? Famous examples? Well, there are many. There are members of ISKCON today. Anyone? Come on. Wake up. Huh? Rukmini! Very good. That's exactly correct. Rukmini became attracted. She'd never seen Krishna, but she heard about him from Brahmanas, specifically Narada. Narada came to the court of her father, whose name was Bhishmaka, and recited the glories of Krishna, hearing which Rukmini thought, I want to marry him. I don't want to marry that Shishupal. He's just like a jackal. Krishna's like a lion, and this Shishupal is just like a jackal. I want to marry Krishna. So she'd never seen Krishna, but just by hearing about him, she became so attracted to him that she wanted to marry him. Which isn't surprising, because she is, after all, his eternal consort. You want to marry Krishna? Like to marry Krishna? Yeah, that's a good idea. All young girls desire to marry Krishna. Then, what to speak if those women see him directly? Already just by hearing about him, they become attracted. And then, you can imagine how attractive Krishna is to all women. There's the narration of Radha, who became, what was that? She heard the sound of a flute playing. And she became, who's playing that flute? She became very attracted. Then she saw a drawing of Krishna. And then she didn't know who that was, and she became it's before Krishna had met. Radha and Krishna had met. She became very attracted to that. And then what was the other thing? Maybe a description of Krishna. So she thought, that I'm in this terrible position. I'm attracted to 3 different people. Someone's playing a flute, and then there's a picture I saw of this beautiful boy, and now I heard a description. I'm attracted to 3 different people. What will become of me? And then she eventually found out that the player of the flute and the person who is depicted in the picture and who is described, it's all the same person. Which person was that? Krishna. That's right, yeah, Krishna. Radha is attracted to Krishna. It's not possible that she could become attracted to any other person. Another example, another verse that Rupa Goswami gives. Oh Madhava. Madhava means, what's the meaning? One meaning of the name. Common meaning is? husband of the goddess of fortune. Madhava. Ma means Lakshmi, Dhava means husband. So, Madhava, you are a magnet. And Angana Jati, the whole class of women, are like iron. So wherever you wander in your play, Krishna wanders through the forest of Vrindavan, playfully. He's playing. He's taking the calves and later the cows out. So his working or taking out the cows, it's play for him. So wherever he wanders, the women, like iron attracted to a magnet, they run after him. Savaradhyaha. All worshipable. Worshipable by all persons. That's one of the terms I often use when I'm speaking in Hindi or Bengali about Krishna. He's Sarvopari, Savaradhya, Sarvotkrushta. Many words can be used. Sarva means all. So Sarvopari means above all. Sarvotkrushta means the most, or all excellent, containing then Savaradhya means worshipped or worshipable by everyone. So Rupa Goswami gives the meaning of this, that he who should be worshipped before all others is called all worshipable. There's a system, just like we find at the Rajasuya Yajna that was organized by Yudhishthira Maharaj. There was a discussion, who should be worshipped first? Who is the most worshipable person in this assembly? It's a formality before conducting the Rajasuya Yajna. So all the great demigods and sages from all over the universe, all the great kings of the earth, in other words, all the great brahmanas and kshatriyas, all the great people of the universe were present. So who should be worshipped first? Maybe it should have been Vyas. Maybe it should have been Indra or Brahma. Who should it be? But it was Nakul, was it, or Sahadev? Now I'm not remembering. Sahadev, who stood up and said, Krishna should be worshipped. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oh, and there's this is exactly the example given by Rupa Goswami. At the Rajasuya Yajna, performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men of the world. That means of the universe. The royal and learned orders. That means Kshatriyas and Brahmanas. And in that great assembly, Lord Sri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality of Godhead. So that's the point. Krishna is worshipable by all. He should be worshipped before. Means that not that others are not to be worshipped, but Krishna is to be worshipped first. And anyone else who is to be worshipped, they are worshipped because of their relationship with Krishna. In Islam, they have, it's a very strict principle. In fact, all their principles are strict principles. Whatever they do is strict. That's good in some ways. I mean, we suffer from a lack of strictness in Krishna consciousness. Everyone's too spontaneously doing whatever they want. The word spontaneous is used here sarcastically. So they object to anyone but Allah being worshipped. They object that anyone but Allah should be bowed down to. Once there was like a kind of impromptu interfaith meeting had been put together in Baroda, in Gujarat, in India. What had happened, well, as every... Anyway, I won't go into the details, but anyway, one Muslim gentleman who we were sitting with and discussing with, what happened, as we were discussing, one devotee came up and offered respect by bowing down before me. At which the Muslim man, not in a very envious way, but he pointed out that, well, in Islam we won't accept that anyone can bow down to anyone except Allah. So Jashavati Nandan Prabhu, who was present there, some of you may know him, he explained that, well, we offer obeisances to others because of their relationship with Krishna. And actually that's described, that one is actually offering obeisances to the super soul in the heart. So you bow down, because you don't bow. You could theoretically bow down to anyone, but we especially bow down to people who represent the super soul within the heart by their devotional or pious activities. So one is enjoined to bow down before one's parents, before one's elder brother, before one's teacher, and so on. You couldn't imagine in the schools in Europe people bowing down before their teacher or bowing down before anyone for that matter. Even in the church, if they ever go to church, they don't bow down. There's no bowing down. So bowing down is there, but why do we bow down to a guru? There are various grades of gurus, just a mother and father, they're also gurus. Because of their relationship with Krishna. Krishna is all worshipable by all, and those who represent Krishna, they are also worshipped because of that, because of their relationship with Krishna. So it's actually Krishna who is to be worshipped. We only worship a guru because he is a representative of Krishna. If he doesn't represent Krishna, then he's not a guru. He's just an impostor. So, next, number 48, Samriddhiman, possessing all wealth. This is a known word, again, for anyone who knows any Indian language, all these words are very easy to understand. Savaradhya, worshipable by all. Riddhi means wealth. So, it's a known word. Riddhi, Siddhi, these are the wives of Ganesh. That's mundane opulence. And mundane Siddhi means mystic perfection. So, Krishna is Samriddhiman. He possesses all wealth. So, the definition of that, it's pretty straightforward what it means, but Rupa Goswami gives a short definition of that. One who possesses great treasure is called Samriddhiman. Prosperous is the word. Do you mind just sitting up straight?
Like this?
Yeah, because it's a temple. It's a holy place. I'm saying in the temple we bow down, so at least you can sit nicely. And maybe if you just turn around a little bit so your back isn't toward the deity. There are certain rules and regulations. If you don't mind.
No.
So, here's a description of Krishna's wealth. One verse. O subduer of Mura. There are many names for Krishna in relation to Mura, the demon Mura. Murari, the enemy of Mura. Muravit, the killer of Mura. What's the word here? Mura. We don't know much about Mura. But there are so many names in relation to him. Names of Krishna. Muradamana, who subdues. So 560 million yadus are serving you. And each one of the yadus himself is a very rich man. They're all serving Krishna. Your 8 treasures are raining all wealth. So there are 8 kinds of treasure. What they are is not described here, and I don't know exactly what that means. 900,000 pure palaces are shining in your glory. So this in Dwaraka, Krishna had so many palaces. Who would not be astonished on seeing your wealth? In the commentary, Jiva Goswami quotes from the Bhagavatam that Nandasya Braja, the land of Braja, which is Nanda Maharaja's, he's the king of Vrindavan, Brajendra, is the same word, Sarva Samriddhiman, full of all prosperity. Because Vrindavan is although it's known as Nanda Braja, the land of Nanda Maharaj, it is actually eternally the abode of Krishna. So it's naturally full of all transcendental qualities, in which one of them is all wealth. Lakshmi always resides in Vrindavan. That's stated right in the beginning of the Gopi Gita. What's that? I can't remember. First verse of Gopi Gita, the first line says that Lakshmi always resides in Vrindavan. So, when Krishna appeared there, can you remember what that is? If we try, we won't remember. It may come. So, when Krishna actually appeared there, when Krishna manifested himself in Vrindavan, then particularly the opulence became manifest. Lakshmi manifested. Indira is given. Shashvadatrahi. In that, Lakshmi is referred to as Indira in that verse. That she's always present in Vrindavan. That's the particular words. So, okay. So, another example. In Vrindavan, the ornaments on the feet of the women are chintamani, the wish-fulfilling substance. The flower trees for making decorations are desire trees. The kamadhenu, the cows. So you see in Vrindavan there's chintamani, there's the stone by which can fill all your desires. The trees are wish-fulfilling trees. They can fill all desires. And the cows, they also give whatever you like. So that's wealth, isn't it? You have 3 kinds of mystic, what shall we say, substances or entities that can fulfill all desires. So Vrindavan is full of wealth. But despite, Actually, we hear of Dwarka as being full of opulence. And in Vrindavan, we think there's a discussion between Srivas Thakur was saying that during the Rath Yatra, he was making the case for Lakshmi and Vaikuntha. And he said, you see, in Vrindavan you just have a few twigs and leaves. But my Lakshmi, she's very opulent. But actually, Vrindavan's opulence, even in terms of palaces and jewels, it far exceeds that of Dwarka, which is, and the opulence of Dwarka is unlimited, but that of Braja is exceeded. Does that make any sense? Not according to the material calculation, because it's not possible to exceed unlimited. But although Dwarka's opulence is unlimited, that of Vrindavan exceeds that of Dwarka, but nevertheless the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they're not much concerned with opulence. They like the simple forest flowers. Krishna is called Vanamali, who's decorated with forest flowers, and they like the simple beauty of nature in which Krishna lives. So then, the opulence is not a very important factor for them. Therefore, we don't hear it described much. Although actually it is more opulent, but they like Krishna and simple, natural life. So, the next quality of Krishna. Variya, which means the best. Krishna is the best. The best of everything, the best of everyone. So, Rupa Goswami describes, he who is the chief of all people is called the best. Chief in all respects. So, there's a verse described here, or given here. Brahma and others. Others means Brahma doesn't come with just some small timer. Brahma, when he comes with others, it means he comes with Shiva and all great demigods. So Brahma arrived in Dwarka with a whole contingent of demigods, and the doorkeeper told him, Brahma, just sit down here. Just Shiva, you sit down too. And don't make so much noise. Just stop making all those prayers. Don't make any disturbance. Just keep quiet. Varuna, just go away, don't make any disturbance. So, that's not how you would expect to receive demigods. I mean, if the president of Slovenia came here, he's a very small person in the world. It's not that, what's that, the guy's name? Obama? Barack Obama. He's not thinking about the United States relationship with Slovenia. It's not, or his foreign secretary is Hillary Clinton, I think, is it? She's the foreign secretary. She's not thinking about, how we can maintain our relationship with Slovenia. It's just not an issue for the United States. But here in Slovenia, if the president of Slovenia came, you should receive him nicely. He's an important man here. But so that's the example I'm giving. Just like in this tiny little material universe, Shiva, Brahma, Varuna, they're all very big people. But then compared to Krishna, they're just insignificant. So even the doorkeeper of Krishna at Dwarka, he, when the demigods come, he just thinks, just some more, just making a big fuss, just sit down, keep quiet, don't make any fuss, you go away, like this. It just goes to show how superior to the demigods Krishna is, how superior to the great people of this world Krishna is, where even his doorkeeper can treat the demigods in such a way. The idea is that it's Krishna, he's not here right now, so, just don't disturb and, wait, and when in due course of time, okay, you can come in, but, just keep to your position for the time being. A similar quality, Ishvaraha, Krishna, is the controller. So there are two types of controllers, or two qualities which define a controller. He who is independent, that means he's not controlled by anyone else. And he whose orders cannot be neglected. So he's independent, swatantra. Krishna does what he wants, how he wants, when he wants, without having to answer to anyone. He doesn't have to take permission from anyone. He is independent. So an example of Krishna's independence. Kaliya offended the Lord, and Krishna gave him mercy by placing his footmark on Kaliya's head. So Kaliya did something wrong, and according to the laws of the universe, he should have been punished. Well, he was in a way, but then the mercy he got of having Krishna's footprint on his head was far more than even many yogis could even imagine, or devotees even. Whereas Brahma, he praised Krishna, but Krishna wasn't interested in him. Brahma offered so many prayers to Krishna after offending Krishna, and Krishna, he was, who is this fellow? I wish he'd go away. I want to play with my friends. This funny four-headed fellow standing in front of me. So Krishna, in contradiction to the theory, the misconception of the karma mimamsakas, Krishna is the supreme controller. He's not controlled by the Vedic injunctions. The karma mimamsakas think that, well, there is God, but if people do something good, he has to give them a good result. And if they do something bad, he has to punish them. So they deny the godness of God. They say he's there, but he's just some kind of cosmic order supplier on one side, and he's obliged to give people the results of their activities. But Krishna is not. He's independent. And the example is given that Kaliya behaved wrongly toward Krishna, but he got mercy from Krishna. He was well treated by Krishna. And Brahma, of course, he did behave wrongly, but then he rectified that, or attempted to rectify that by offering prayers, and actually those prayers appear in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. And they're very important prayers, some of them are regularly quoted. But Krishna, he wasn't particularly impressed, and he didn't reciprocate with Brahma in this case by expressing gratitude for his prayers. Now, another example, another meaning of the word Ishvara, the controller, one whose order cannot be neglected. In other words, if you don't follow Krishna's order, you're in trouble. Krishna is the Lord of all kinds of threes, Triyadhish, and is independently supreme by achievement of all kinds of fortune. He is worshipped by the eternal maintainers of the creation, who offer him the paraphernalia of worship by touching their millions of helmets to his feet. Another example. O enemy of Kamsa, all the Brahmas, accepting your order to create all the universes, all new universes. And the Shivas destroy all the old universes on your order. So that's quite a high level of, well, it's the highest level. It's Krishna's level. He's on that level. Brahma, create. Okay. Shiva, destroy. Okay. Who else can order Brahma or Shiva? No one can order them. They are practically Ishwaras themselves. But they work under the order of Krishna. Tava Ichamate Brahma Karan Srijan Tava Ichamate Shiva. What is that? Karan Shanha. Bhakti. So, even Krishna's expansions in the form of Vishnu, they protect and maintain the universe on Krishna's order. So, and then all the masters all the demigods, they're all working under Krishna's orders. Or they await his order. So, let's have a little break here from discussing these qualities. And we can sing again the Madhurashtaka. If you'd like to kindly give this sheet. And it could be held up in front, I don't know the system exactly, it could be put in the camera so that whoever might be watching from wherever they may be in the world could also sing this along with us.
Actually, in the morning a link was given to the Wikipedia where Maharaj was
I see.
just take it.
Well, we don't have any devotees sitting here to do that now. Oh, beautiful picture of Radha and Krishna fell out. That's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, raining nectar. Yeah, could you give the link again, please? And one thing is, in one line, in the first line of the second verse in the printouts that we here in Ljubljana have, the second verse, first line, last word, should be Madhura, not Adhura. So let's make a note of that, if you have a pen. And also, in the last verse, third line, first word, it's written O Dalitam, but it should be just Dalitam, according to my limited knowledge of Sanskrit, but not totally insubstantial knowledge. Those changes should be made. So let's sing this very sweet song in praise of the sweetest of the sweet, Krishna, whose birthday we're celebrating today, even though he never takes birth. Adharam madhuram vadanam madhuram nayanam madhuram asitam madhuram adharam madhuram vadanam madhuram nayanam madhuram asitam madhuram madhuram ghamitam madhuram madhuradhikante rakitam madhuram radhika madhuram ghamitam madhuram madhuradhikante rakitam madhuram madhura Panir madhura 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 Panir madhura Nityam madhuram Sakhyam madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Nityam madhuram Sakhyam madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Nityam madhuram Nityam madhuram Bhuktam madhuram Sukham madhuram Nityam madhuram Nityam madhuram Bhuktam madhuram Sukham madhuram Rupam madhuram Tilakam madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Rupam madhuram Tilakam madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Haranam madhuram Charanam madhuram Haranam madhuram Haranam madhuram Haranam madhuram Charanam madhuram Haranam madhuram Shamitam madhuram Shamitam madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Shamitam madhuram Shamitam madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Ganga madhura Mala madhura Yamuna madhura Giri madhura Ganga madhura Mala madhura Yamuna madhura Giri madhura Saliram madhuram Kamalam madhuram Madhuradhikante Saliram madhuram Kamalam madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Gopi madhura Leela madhura Yuktam madhuram Bhuktam madhuram Gopi madhura Leela madhura Yuktam madhuram Bhuktam madhuram Krishna madhuram Swishtam madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Krishna madhuram Krishna madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Gopa madhura Go madhura Yashir madhura Shir madhura Gopa madhura Go madhura Yashir madhura Shir madhura Chalitam madhuram Chalitam madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Chalitam madhuram Chalitam madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram madhuram Madhuradhikante Agiram Sweeter. His lips are sweet, his face is sweet, his eyes are sweet, his smile is sweet, his heart is sweet, his gait is sweet. Everything is sweet about the original Lord of all sweetness. His words are sweet, his character is sweet, his clothes are sweet, his bentness is sweet, his movements are sweet, his wandering is sweet. Everything is sweet about the original Lord of all sweetness, the Supreme Lord of all sweetness. His flute is sweet, his foot dust is sweet, his hands are sweet, his feet are sweet, his dancing is sweet, his friendship is sweet. Everything is sweet about the Supreme Lord of all sweetness. His singing is sweet, his drinking is sweet, his eating is sweet, his sleeping is sweet, his beauty is sweet, his tilak is sweet. Everything is sweet about the Supreme Lord of all sweetness. His activities are sweet, his acts of deliverance are sweet, his stealing is sweet, his romance is sweet, his yawning is sweet, his chastisements are sweet. Everything is sweet about the Supreme Lord of all sweetness. His gunja berries are sweet, his garland is sweet, the Yamuna river is sweet, the waves are sweet, the water is sweet, the lotus flowers are sweet. Everything is sweet about the original Lord of all sweetness. The gopis are sweet, his pastimes are sweet, his union with the gopis is sweet. Here's translated, here bhuktam, I think that should be his enjoyment of the gopis. That makes sense in this context, especially as bhuktam has already been mentioned previously. So his enjoyment, particularly of the gopis, is sweet. His delight is sweet. His embracing is sweet. Everything is sweet about the Supreme Lord of all sweetness. The cowherd boys are sweet. The cows are sweet. The cow herding stick is sweet. His creation is sweet. His killing of the demons is sweet. And Phalitam, the result of killing, I heard said, the result of his killing the demons are sweet. Everything is sweet about the original, Supreme Lord of all sweetness. That's right. So, we have this Brahma Samhita sheets. I was told they're here in the temple. We could chant that. After we'll read it, some more qualities of Krishna. And then after some time we can chant Brahma Samhita. After a little time, just, we'll have a reading from this and then singing or chanting or like this. Make a variety. So, the next quality of Krishna is described Sada Swarupa Samprapta. It's translated very simply. He has a constant form that differentiates Krishna from those who change their form all the time. Our forms are always changing. Every moment it's changing. And with death and rebirth we get a completely changed form. But Krishna's form is unchanging. So, why is that? He who is not controlled by Maya or its effects is said to have a constant form. Changing form means it's under the influence of time. Time, the effect of time mixed with the three modes of material nature and the activities of the conditioned soul under the direction of the ultimately of the Supreme Lord, that results in them getting different bodies. But Krishna is not under the modes of nature, he's not under time, he's not under the demigods, he's not under anything. So his form doesn't change. From the first canto, etad, important verse. Etad ishanam ishasya prakritis topi tadgunai nayujyate sadatmas haya yatabudhis tadashraya. This is the divinity of the personality of Godhead. This is his godness. This is what makes him God. There are so many rascals who call themselves God. We should declare war on them. We already have, actually, in Prabhupada's, one of his poems states that the Krishna conscious movement declares war on all these bogus incarnations of God. But the real God, his divinity or his godness, or that which makes him God, that which distinguishes him from others, is that he is not affected by the qualities of material nature even though he is in contact with them. He's apparently in contact. Actually, he's never in contact. But he comes into this material world, but he's not affected by this material world. And even his devotees, those who have taken shelter of him, even though they live in this world, they're not influenced by this world. So that is the quality of Krishna. They're not affected by time. He's not affected by time, nor are his devotees. So, Jiva Goswami's commentary. This verse explains the nature, Ishanam, the nature of the Lordship, Ishanam, the controllingness, we could say, of he who controls everything, Ishasya. So Krishna is not called the Supreme Lord flippantly, lightly. It's when Krishna is called the Supreme Lord, it is meaningful. When others are referred to as God, it's ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Just like Paundraka. Ridiculous. And we have so many ridiculousnesses. Sai Baba number 1, number 2, and so many bogus, completely useless people who are claimed to be God. So just like Krishna, he is actually God, and those who are his devotees, they partake of the same nature. Not that they're the supreme controller, but they become transcendental to matter by taking shelter of Krishna. So in the same way, those who worship these useless incarnations of God, they also partake of the same nature of these useless incarnations. They also become, by being so-called devotees of these so-called incarnations, they become similarly stupid and ipso facto stupid. By that fact alone, by the very fact that they can worship such as preposterous, what a preposterous proposal that Sai Baba is this guy who had long fuzzy hair, now it's all fallen out due to the effect of time. He was in a wheelchair and they still call him God. So it's preposterous to call him God, but he accepts that, and people, they worship him like that. So it just goes, just like Krishna, everything about Krishna goes to show his godness. So everything about the imitation incarnations goes to show their utter stupidity and perversity. So Krishna is not controlled by Maya or its effects. Krishna's hair doesn't fall out. Krishna doesn't go anywhere in a wheelchair. It's ridiculous to even think that anyone in a wheelchair could be the supreme controller. Krishna is not controlled by Maya or its effects. The Lord is in one sense situated within the material nature. I mean, he does appear in this world, and he is there as the super soul. Maya Dhakshena Prakana, what's that verse? Mayati Tamidam Savam Jagada Vyaktam Muritina Matstani Sarva Bhutani Nachaham Teshvavastita. Krishna is in everything, everything is within Krishna. Still Krishna doesn't touch anything. So he's within the material nature, but he's not contaminated by the effects of material nature in the form of Sattvagun, Rajagun or Tamagun. This is in contrast to the jivas, who are affected by the modes of material nature by falsely taking the role of the owners of material nature while they're situated within it. Actually, everything belongs to Krishna. But those who falsely take the position of the owner of the material nature, Ishvaraham, Aham Bhogi, is the nature of the demon. He considers, I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. So by thinking like that, they don't actually become the controller or the enjoyer. That position is reserved eternally and exclusively by Krishna. So the effect of the jivas attempting to, what is that word? To take over that position of being, is that they actually become controlled by the material nature in which they claim themselves to be the enjoyer of. But they're actually to be the controller of, but actually they are controlled by material nature at this very same time that they attempt to appropriate to themselves the role of the controller. But by doing so, they become controlled, because it's not possible for them in any phase of their existence to be the controller. Even they may have some, well, to some extent every jiva has some modicum of control of over material nature. Just like I just lifted up this piece of paper, which it's not something I'm going to get in the Guinness Book of Records for. It's not a heavy weight. But I did manipulate. You see, I can pick it up again. So how can you say, I'm controlling this piece of, I have the ability to manipulate material nature. Of course, this is a very simple example, but there are much more complex ones. For instance, sending a satellite into space, Chandrayana. India, for your information, is one of the few countries that has sent a satellite into space, and God damn it, they're proud of it. Of course, they can't stop the swine flu in India itself, but they have got a satellite in space. It's having some problems now, but it requires a lot of many intelligent people cooperating to do that. I mean, it may seem that they're controlled, they're controlling, they're manipulating material energy. So to some extent, it can be said that the jiva is an Ishvara, but he's only able to, a controller, but he's only able to control to the extent that he's allowed to by Krishna. He's given some little allowance to play, just like Prabhupada gives that example of the children go to the beach and they build sand castles. It must be well known for those who live on the coast, the Adriatic coast. The children, what do you do when you go to the beach all day? I mean, what is there to do? Just sit around in the sand. So the children, they make castles out of sand. Right? The Czechs, they also come to Croatia, and after having driven several hundred kilometers, they help their children to make a castle out of sand on the Adriatic coast. So it takes some kind of engineering skill, childish engineering skill, but the sand castle is doomed by time in the form of tide. When the tide comes in, the sandcastle falls down. So, in the same way, all human endeavors, they build big empires. Nowadays, there's not so much empires. There used to be empires. The Byzantine Empire was controlling this area also, probably a long time ago. The Turkish Ottoman Empire was definitely in control of this area. The Habsburg dynasty, the Austrians, they were controlling this area. The Nazi Germany, they were controlling this area. So there's so many, nowadays they don't have that kind of empire. They have business empires. McDonald's, International Empire, Toyota, Sony. I'm also subscribed to the Sony Empire in my service to Krishna. So, but it's all doomed by time. Mr. Sony, as Prabhupada referred to him. I don't know if there is a person called that. There are plenty of Mr. Sonys in India. It's a caste name. So, probably the original is dead and Sony number 2, 3 or 4 is on top of the Sony empire. But it's all doomed. It won't last. America is the most powerful country in the world. How long for? It won't last. Nothing in this world will last. But Krishnas, yes, all this is being stated just to contrast with the position of Krishna, who is always the controller. Even if he gives a little power to the jiva, so they can play their game of building sandcastles or Byzantine Empire castles or McDonald's network castles. It's the same propensity, playing foolishly, not realizing that it's all meaningless. But Krishna actually controls. How does he control? Ananda chinmaya rasamataya manasu yah praninam pratipalam smaratamupetya lilayatena bhuvanani jayatya jasram govindavadi purusham tamaham bhajami. By his lila, by his very pastimes, he controls. There's his Srishti lila, creation lila, and all his, just as his pastime, he controls. He's not situated in the material world, he's always situated in his transcendental potency, which is reflected in the minds of the discerning souls. So this is very important, this quality of Krishna. It's very important to understand how Krishna is the supreme controller. And that's just stated, Ishvara. And one of the symptoms of his being the supreme controller, which is under discussion now, is that Krishna is all, his form is he. It is not different from him. Krishna and his form are non-different, and that form is unchanging. Krishna never grows old. Krishna never dies. Krishna is never under the influence of the modes of material nature. He's not affected in any way by Maya or its gunas, the sattva gun, tama gun, raja gun. So, the next quality of Krishna, Sarvagyaha. He knows everything. Krishna knows everything. That's why one of the reasons we're celebrating Janmashtami. All these qualities of Krishna. Why are we celebrating? Why should we celebrate someone who was born over 5,000 years ago? Everyone in the meantime has become forgotten. Who were the great emperors of the Byzantine Empire? Can anyone say the name of one of them? Maybe if you're a professional historian, you might. At Constantinople. Yeah. Well, then from him came the calendar. So there must have been kings. There must have been the king of Ljubljana, right? The king of Slovenia. Slovenia. Anyone knows the names? Communism must have wiped out the records even. Who was the name of the king before it became communist? It was under Austria, right? It was under Austria. That was the whole reason they made it. Anyway, what was the name of the Austrian prince who got shot in Sarajevo? Ferdinand. You knew it. You should know. It's all your fault. They had the First World War. All you Serbs and whoops, it's called Croatian and Serb. There'll be a Third World War. So anyway, there have been so many great kings, great leaders, people who would make others tremble by their power and by their torture of others. They're all forgotten in the last of 5. So many. Some are remembered, most of them are forgotten. And certainly none of their birthdays are celebrated. Just like in India they celebrate Gandhi's birthday. But after 5,000 years no one's going to be celebrating Gandhi's birthday, and probably they've never even heard of it. Who else's birthday? They celebrate anyone's birthday? Jesus celebrate his birthday. Or what they don't actually know his birthday, but they pretend that the 25th of December is his birthday. Then who else's birthday? Anyone? In England they think there's some kind of recognition of the Queen's birthday. Something like that. And then she'll die and then they'll have to celebrate the King's birthday. It'll change, right? But Krishna, we're still celebrating his birthday because it's worth remembering Krishna. It's worth celebrating Krishna's birthday. And Krishna is eternally the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, the importance, just like Gandhi, actually already the importance of Gandhi is already, in the West he's much more, among certain people in the West he's much more, appreciated I guess, than in India. In India people don't give a damn about Gandhi. I mean they have a formal Gandhi so-called Jayanti, his birthday. But no one gives the things he spoke about, and no one gives a damn. It's just a formality, that's all. Or they have Ambedkar Jayanti. It's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Celebrating the birthdays of these extremely mundane people. They will all be forgotten in the course of time. Krishna will never be forgotten. As long as the material world goes on, there'll always be someone who worships Krishna. Actually, many. At the end of Kali Yuga, there'll be hardly anyone on this planet, but still in the heavenly planets and in many planets, there'll be worship of Krishna. It goes on. It's only foolish people who don't worship Krishna. So Krishna is Sarvagya. He knows everything. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, who knows that verse? Krishna knows everything. Krishna knows everything, past, present and future. Anyone? Reading Bhagavad Gita? Know the verse? You're Bhakti Shastri, right? Didn't teach you that verse? The one in which Krishna states, I know everything, past, present and future. Anyone?
I know the number.
You know the number?
726.
Vedaham samatitani Vartamanani Charjuna. Yeah, that's he states, I know everything past, present, future. And the last line he says, Mang tu Vedana Kaschana. No one knows me at all. So Krishna says, I know everything past, present and future. Everything. Everything. So Sarvagya, he who is the embodiment of all things. Parachitta Sthita. I don't know. Some of the translations sound a bit strange. I would translate. I don't know. Sanskrit. Parachitta stita means who's situated in the consciousness of all of others. So that's one way Krishna knows everything. And knows who knows the situation of everything in all times and all places. Such a person is called all-knowing, or the fancy word is omniscient. I believe in Christian theology they say that God is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. So, omniscient means he knows everything, omnipotent means he's all-powerful, and omnipresent means he's everywhere. So the words are there in Sanskrit also. Sarvagya, omnipotent, all-powerful, Sarva Shaktiman, and what's the other one I said? All present everywhere, Sarvaga, situated everywhere. So in the first canto of Bhagavatam, an example of how Krishna knows everything is that when Durvasa Muni came, sent by Duryodhana, he came to the Pandavas in the forest. Durvasa Muni came with his 10,000 disciples, and he came, invited himself to lunch after Draupadi had already eaten from the Akshaya Patra. For those of you who don't know, Akshaya Patra is not something invented by Madhu Pandit Das in Bangalore. It's, he took it from the Mahabharata, Draupadi's inexhaustible pot. She would feed everyone, and then she would eat last, and when she ate, then the inexhaustible pot became exhausted. And it wouldn't give any more until the next meal. So Durvasa went and asked for a meal at the time of just after Draupadi had eaten. Deliberately, that was arranged by Duryodhana to put the Pandavas in extreme difficulty. But Krishna, knowing everything, although he wasn't present at that time in the forest with the Pandavas, but he arrived there by his own potency and solved the problem by eating a little bit of food that was stuck to the pot, and Yasmin Tushte Jagat Tushta, Krishna satisfied the whole universe is satisfied. So at that time Durvasa, who had been sent to just go and bathe in the river, and in the meantime we'll arrange everything. So he and his entourage, they all felt completely full up and bloated, so they all ran away because they didn't want to have to eat a big meal, which they thought the Pandavas were preparing. So this is an example of how Krishna knows everything. Interesting, that example. I mean, there could be so many examples given, but this is a very nice example showing how Krishna protects his devotees also. So, the next one. Nitya Nutanaha. Krishna is always new, always fresh. He who astonishes by appearing to be previously unrelished. In other words, just like some kind of food that you haven't eaten for a long time. It's a torturous example when you're fasting all day. But some really nice food. What can you think of? Nice food. Jalebi, pakoras. Actually, they don't have nice pakoras, and now they fry it all in oil. It tastes like we used to fry them in ghee. ISKCON was better in the old days. That's the proof. We used to fry pakoras in ghee nowadays. If you get them at all, they're fried in oil. So, some nice food. Just imagine some very nice food. We're not supposed to be enjoyers, but we can imagine some nice food you haven't had for a long time. Oh, how nice that will be. But then if we take it again and again and again, it becomes not very relishable. Just like, I'll give an example from my personal experience. In the Berry Place Temple in London, it was not actually meant to be a residential facility at all. It was that area was designated as for office buildings, but devotees were living there. Not only were they living there, but there were many living there. Generally about 60. It was only a small building. So eventually the complaints of the local residents that we were disturbing them was taken up by the Camden Borough Council, and they were, actually in one sense it was kind enough to let us even keep anyone, because it wasn't meant to be residential at all. But the number of devotees living there became cut down from about 60 to about 6 or 8. So I was one of them who remained behind at that time, and practically with just the essential services to Sri Sri Radha-Landanishra, Sri Sri Gauritai Jagannath Subhadra Baladev was going on while the devotees were arranging to go take another building. So Radha Landanishra were famous, among other things, for their extraordinarily opulent prasadam. So when all the devotees moved out, the 6 or 8 of us, and there was all these huge plates of extraordinarily opulent prasadam became our daily fare. Lots of ghee, cream, and sugar. Chai. Now they all moved out. Now we get all the Mahaprasadam for ourselves. What a contrast when I first joined in Bhaktivedanta Madhava. The whole deity Mahaprasadam was one small plate which devotees would stand in a long line for to get a tiny little bit of. But the result of eating extraordinarily opulent Mahaprasad is that you lose your taste for eating at all. You don't feel like eating. And if you after about 3 days of that, you just want to eat some plain khichdi. So, why am I relating this? Because opulent food is very nice. Pakoras, puris, rabri, sandesh, rasgulla, etc., etc. Very nice. But if you go on taking it, then you think, it's really a burden. It gets it for the liver, actually. The liver can't handle so much. Real milk fat. But Krishna, coming back to the point here, Krishna is always fresh. That means Krishna is very relishable, and it's not like some opulent food which is very relishable if you're hungry and you didn't eat opulent food for a long time. Just like if you eat only very plain food. That was Prabhupada's program, actually. We have very simple prasad during the week, and once a week a love feast. That was the title given by Kirtananda, which Prabhupada picked up. So then if you do like that, then the once a week feast, you really appreciate it. But if you take everyday rich preparations, then you don't appreciate it so much. Your ability to enjoy goes down. But Krishna is always fresh. That means that he's always, everything about Krishna is always relishable. And it's like, every time it's like new. That's one of Krishna's qualities. is that it's just like Krishna goes to play with his cowherd boys every day, and every day they're fascinated. Or he dances, Rasa Leela, and it's always new. It's like they never did it before. It's always like a new experience. The freshness makes it more. When there's something to be enjoyed freshly, it's always more enjoyable. And if there's a saying, being there, seen that, done that. I've done everything. I've been everywhere, I've done everything that's been done. Just bored. Nothing left to do. But with Krishna there's no boredom. Because Krishna is always fresh. Even though the devotees relish the sweetness of Krishna again and again, each time they see Krishna, they think, oh, how wonderful. They don't become bored by seeing that. There's the saying, familiarity breeds contempt. That you don't care about it anymore. Because you've seen it so many times. Just like there may be a beautiful woman, but that woman's husband sees her every day. So she walks in, doesn't look at her. Oh, you're not looking at me. Then she may be interested to find some other man who's more interested in her. And he may be interested in finding another woman because he's very enjoyed. Let's try another. But with Krishna, not like that. Krishna's always fresh and new and relishable in the superlative degree. So, an example of this, Krishna being ever fresh and new. From the first canto of Bhagavatam, although Lord Sri Krishna was constantly by their sides as well as being exclusively alone, his feet appeared to them, as referring to the queens of Dwarka, to be newer and newer. So even though you're looking at him, the experience of seeing him appears to be not that older, not that, okay, I saw him, I'm still seeing him, okay, but it's at every moment, it's more and more relishable. The goddess of fortune, although always restless and moving, could not quit the Lord's feet. So what woman can be detached from those feet, having once taken shelter of them? Yeah, the last line expresses that in Lakshmi there exists both fickleness and steadiness. She is chala, or fickle, only in her secondary aspect. In this world she is known as chanchala, fickle, doesn't stay in one place. But in her swarup, in her essence, she is very steady because she sticks to Krishna. That's described by Bhakti Thakur also. What is that? Swarasiki Siddhi, Rajagopi Dham. Parama Chanchala Sati. That the wealth of the gopis is their individual, inherent, eternal serving propensity toward Krishna. In other words, each gopi serves Krishna individually, in her own special way. Radha and Krishna. And the gopis are described as Parama Chanchala Sati. They are extremely fickle and at the same time extremely loyal and chaste to Krishna. So here's another example of Krishna being ever fresh from Lalita Madhav, the play by Rupa Goswami. Oh beautiful friend, who is this expert craftsman? Craftsman means, it's Vishwakarma. So Prabhupada describes him as an architect. He's like he constructs beautiful buildings, designs and constructs. Who is this expert craftsman? Vishwakarma standing in front of us, breaking the stones of self-control in all the young women with the tips of his long, sharp, chisel-like corners of his eyes, very difficult to translate, and simultaneously constructing a cow pen using millions of sapphires. So it's an example given. Vishvakarma does construction, so chiseling the stones and making beautiful designs. So Krishna, with the chisel-like corners of his eyes, by his glances, he breaks the stones of the young women, their self-control. It's very strong like a stone. But Krishna breaks that with the chisel of his glances. So it's highly allegorical language.